What if I told you that there's a way to vastly improve the quality of your photography, create scroll-stopping images, and sell your work to more people? You would probably listen. If you're not interested in that sort of stuff, feel free to explore other videos. Now, this technique is shooting black and white. I know it sounds very ho-hum, and black and white seems to be a lesser cousin to colour digital photography. We're talking digital photography here, but film photography is the same. Shooting black and white will vastly improve your skills, both in colour photography and black and white photography. Black and white photography is something that a lot of photographers just don't think about nowadays. In the old days, I'm an old photographer, we used to purposely shoot black and white film or colour film so that we could purposely go out and shoot black and white. And our headspace was in the black and white space. And that's the secret to shooting great black and white images. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Black and white photography teaches you things like including emotion and feelings in your images. It simplifies your image down. It helps you to create compositions that work so much better. It's going to improve your colour photography alongside your black and white. Now, this is not just another excuse to make a video. I passionately believe that black and white photography is going to improve you as a photographer and lift those skills up to a higher level. So many people love black and white images. When I first started in professional photography, I was shooting film. So I was shooting black and white film and colour film for the same shoots. I sold 70 to 80% black and white images consistently. Because I was shooting mostly glamour photography, that sort of stuff, portraits and things, people just believed that they looked better in black and white. Black and white was a more artistic medium, so it had higher value to most people. And that amazed me. Every time I sold images, 70 to 80% of them were black and white. Now, a lot of photographers neglect black and white nowadays because it's an extra step. It's more processing involved. It doesn't have to be tedious. It's really, really easy to produce good quality black and white images, and we'll get into that later in the video. But I implore you to try shooting black and white images. You'll be surprised at the results that you get. Now, some of the reasons why black and white is so popular and is such a great medium to shoot in. Black and white gets rid of all the colour, obviously, so there's no colour distractions in your image. Your image is more pure. It looks more artistic, because photography artists in the past have shot mostly on black and white. Black and white forces you to simplify your photographs. Your compositions are much more simple, which is a great lesson for your colour photography. Black and white shows emotions so much better because those distractions are gone. You can see the expression on that face in the portrait. You can see that street photography, people rushing to get to a particular place. They're more generic people rather than actual people because they're in black and white. Black and white also has so many more options in the processing. You can do so much to a black and white image to enhance it, to change it, to make it look better than you can with a colour image. In a world where 99.9% of all of the images we see are colour, black and white can be a scroll stopper. It can force people to stop, have a look at your images for longer. And that's our goal. We want people to look at our images for longer. We want them to explore our images. We want them to get more out of our images. Black and white is a great way to do that. Don't think of black and white as a lesser cousin to colour. It's a step up. Black and white is a more advanced form of photography because you need to think more. You need to be careful about your compositions. You need to consider your lighting. You need to consider the emotions, the feelings, the expressions in those images. That's why it teaches you so much more about photography in general. And black and white images can be powerful. Look at so many of the historical images that we see all the time, the classic images, the iconic images. Most of them are in black and white because they communicate so much more of the emotion, the excitement, the serenity of that particular environment that we're shooting in. Whether you're shooting portraits or landscapes or still life or street photography, I implore you to give black and white a try. Now, it's not just a matter of switching your camera to black and white and going out and shooting. It takes a little while to get black and white in your head. It takes a little while to be able to visualize your images in black and white. but switching your picture style, or whatever your camera calls it, across to black and white so you can see a black and white image on the back of your screen has a big bearing on it, because you can see the results that you're getting. You can see how one image improves over the other. It'll take a little while to get your head into that black and white space. I find it very difficult to shoot color and black and white together because I'm looking for different things in a black and white image. My color images can tend to rest on the color, the reality of the situation. But my black and white images need more. They need that texture, they need that lighting, they need that simple composition to make them stand out. Now, getting your head into that black and white space is what Ansel Adams used to talk about. He used to talk about visualizing your image before you actually shot it. And once you can master that, it makes a huge difference to your photography. So when you switch your picture style, or whatever your camera calls it, across to monochrome, you can see that black and white image on the back of your screen. But your camera can still record a color image. So you've got the best of both worlds, but we're shooting for black and white. So when you get your images on your computer and you start editing them, you can make such a difference to that black and white image. Whether you convert from your original color image, or you just take that straight black and white. Now, the technical side of things, you can either set your camera to shoot JPEGs and shoot just black and white JPEGs. You can set your camera to shoot JPEG plus RAW. So you've got the option of a black and white JPEG or a color RAW. Or you can just shoot RAW, which means that your camera captures a black and white image, but the colors are still recorded in there. So if you need to go back to the color image, you can do that. I tend to do it the last way, but realistically, if I'm shooting for black and white, I don't want that color. I just want the best quality conversion to black and white that I can do. Now, we can also just go through our files and pick a few color images and convert them to black and white. In my experience, it doesn't happen very often. It doesn't work very often. The images just tend not to look as good in black and white. There are some situations where that can work, and you'll see some examples here where I've sourced a color image from my files and converted it to black and white, and it works quite well. But you'll get a much better result if you go out intentionally to shoot those black and white images. Now, when we convert an image from color to black and white, it's not just a matter of pushing that black and white button in Photoshop or whatever software you use. And by the way, you don't need to have expensive software to do this. Any of the free software options will be able to do a black and white conversion for you. But once we convert that image to black and white, it tends to be very muddy and flat, as you can see from this example. We need to get in there and do a few extra things. We need to boost that contrast. We need to brighten the whites. We need to darken the blacks, depending on the image that we're working on. Generally speaking, a good black and white image has a really solid dark black with detail and a really bright crisp white with detail. Now, that's a generalization. As you can see, a lot of the images accompanying this video don't have that detail in those black areas. I don't mind that. I mean, rules are there to be broken, but I break them for a reason. I want that really deep black to make my subject stand out. I'm a people photographer, so most of these images are of people, but you'll see the compositions are very simple. The compositions are tight. They're not something, there's nothing in that image that's going to distract you from that main subject. That's why I love it. And that's been taught to me by shooting black and white. My color images are very similar. Black and white also forces you to think about things that you don't often think about in color. You think about the quality of the lighting, the direction of the lighting, how the light falls on your subject. You think about the composition, as I've mentioned before, tight, simple compositions. You use those diagonals, you use those leading lines, you use those compositional rules, or guidelines, as we should say, to improve the quality of that image. Sometimes cropping an image down to very basics is a way to add more impact to your photograph. I said before that we have a lot more options to process our black and white images after we take them. We can add contrast to them to make them sparkle that little bit more. We can add color to our black and white image to create a monochrome image that's blue and white or red and white if we want to, if it suits that purpose. I do that quite often, but I tend to come back to the straight black and white image because I think it looks more classic. We can burn and dodge. We can do all those sorts of things that we used to do in the darkroom to make our images look so much better. We can add colour to the shadows to deepen those shadows a little bit. We can add colour to the highlights to give it a more of an old world sort of a look. You can sepia tone your image if you want to make it look classic and old fashioned. There are so many options that we have when we process black and white images, the same way we did in the darkroom. But I implore you to get into black and white, shoot it, maybe exclusively for a couple of weeks, and see the difference in your photography. See the improvement in your photography, in your composition, in your lighting, in your exposure. All of those things that matter, that make you into a better photographer, are going to be improved by shooting black and white. Now, if you want to have a look at a shoot that I've done in black and white, I've got one listed here. You can have a look at that one. Click on that one and you'll see a whole model shoot that I've done in black and white. You'll see the results and you'll see how I achieve them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.